Hi everyone, welcome to Sydney Finance Magnates Pacific Summit. I'm Eamon Sheridan from Forex Live. 24-hour a day, 5-day a week financial news and analysis. And it is my honour and privilege today to be here with Deborah Young. Deborah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Eamon. Yes, hi everybody. I'm the CEO of the RegTech Association. We're a non-profit industry body that was set up about 7 years ago to accelerate the adoption of RegTech and to create a global centre of excellence via the companies in our community.
Right, okay. And we were just speaking when we were doing the mic check that you have just been with central banks in Europe. Can you tell us a little bit about that perhaps?
Yeah, sure. So one of the challenges for central banks is their desire to employ and deploy what they call supervisory technology solutions, or SupTech. And SupTech is really just the other side of the coin of RegTech. And so how regulators and central agencies can employ solutions to actually solve for their own internal issues. So that could be how they are monitoring, how they are enforcing their regulations and compliance obligations onto their regulated institutions. And so this was all about surfacing conversations at that kind of level about how can they reach all of the software vendors in the world to actually be able to tap into the right solutions for their own needs.
Wow, yeah, okay. So that would have been a fantastic conference.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
indeed. It
How
was
about
indeed.
this one? How are you enjoying this one?
Yeah, loving it.
Interesting so far?
Their first year in
Yeah,
Australia,
in
as I
Australia,
understand it. Yeah, and so we're off to a cracking start. I think
Yeah.
we did the opening keynote this
You
morning,
did.
which was fantastic, and a good number of people here. And I can see lots of vendors in the room looking to sell their various wares. And I haven't had an opportunity to go and press the fleshes yet, but I certainly will be after this. So
Absolutely.
we're off to a cracking start.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Well, I'm hoping they come back because it's nice to have finance magnates here in Australia.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I have some written questions, if that's okay with you, Deborah.
Sure.
So in the RTA's 2023 report, you specifically mentioned that a slow procurement was a major roadblock to adoption for the entire ecosystem. Is there any improvement in 2024, and what can be done to usher in an improvement?
So it's a great question. So we're just about to collect the data for 2024, so I can't report on that as yet. But clearly, procurement is the greatest challenge for everybody. So we were just talking about central agencies and regulators. And so procurement is a challenge for them as well, but as is the actual needs of what it is that they're looking to solve for has been a little bit opaque. And so it's hard for software vendors to actually be able to identify what they should be doing their product development around if that's been a bit opaque. So that's where we step in to actually help with that. But what we have been able to gather is over the last 5 years, we've seen the sales cycle actually contract, which is a good thing. So I think 7 years ago when we first started, it was around 2 years for a single solution from first conversation to full deployment, right down to 8.2 months, I think, in our last report. So we have seen that come down, which is actually good news from the purposes. It's good news for regulators because solutions are getting into the institutions that need it at a faster rate. It's good news for systemic stability because there are better solutions in there managing it on a daily basis. But it's also great news for investors that the sales cycle is coming down so that they are seeing greater capacity in investing in these companies because it's not such a long sales cycle like exists in things like healthcare and other things. So speeding that whole cycle up is very important for everybody. And also for consumers.
Yes.
It's actually safeguarding these
Yes.
organisations so that they can give a better deal for their customers, right, who are ultimately consumers.
Yeah, and
Yep.
faster.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed,
yeah, that's a big
indeed.
thing. Awesome. Okay, so now that we're at the Pacific Summit here, which is basically a financial services event. So perhaps you can specify where you see the potential for RegTech firms, obviously the firms that you represent, or where the failures or challenges in the industry for for those firms specifically for this space? And I know you take a broad RegTech view, but I suppose just narrowing it down to the financial area.
Yes, that's right. So financial services is really the heartland of RegTech when the term RegTech was first coined out of the UK probably more than a decade ago. And so this is our natural hunting ground. And I look around the expo here and I'm seeing a lot of trading platforms, but ultimately all of those need to connect in with regulation and compliance somewhere. And so the opportunity is very great because the things that these solutions will still need to have good awareness of, and that is who's using the systems, are the authorities in place for that, has the digital identity been validated of the different traders accessing these platforms, things like KYC, financial crime, all touch on all of this. So the risks are real, and so RegTech can kind of add that trust layer. So I think on the flip side of a lot of these people that we see here is the RegTech helping to keep the system, helping to keep that whole infrastructure safe and robust, and that way we stay out of the way of the regulators if they're satisfied that their reporting is showing that everything is safe and secure. That is what is really important, and obviously the institutions themselves, the financial institutions that are buying these platforms. Ultimately, we are seeing that same survey that we did last year said there's an ultra laser-like focus on their customers right now. And that is from financial crime perspective, it's on a privacy perspective, it's on a cybersecurity perspective, and it's that everybody knows who they are absolutely dealing with and everybody knows who's accessing the system and when and how. So RegTech has a really important role to play as like the brother or sister of most of these platforms that we're seeing in here today. Yeah.
And I would guess that for a fintech, for a financial services firm, if they were utilising the services of your members to put procedures in place for regulation, that would actually move them up as a competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they could say, look, we are compliant with this absolute up to the minute. Yeah.
And the more productivity and efficiency that an institution can gain through deploying great solutions like are in this room and RegTech solutions, you will see that paid back to the customers, their ability to be nimble, their ability to offer their customers fantastic digital experience and in real time, because customers have a lot of choice out there right now, right? So the more that we can have some of these systems in place, the more productive and efficient an organisation can be, and then hopefully being able to have great regulatory reporting so that all of this stuff is out on the table, everything's nice and transparent, and consumers will be the people that will actually benefit downstream.
Awesome. Okay. All right, I've got a couple more things to go through if you don't mind.
Yes, that's fine.
Now, artificial intelligence. It's all happening. What is the most impressive or effective way that AI is already being used in RegTech, and what's to come, I guess?
Yeah, so I think artificial intelligence has actually been around a long time. I think that people have started to get excited over the last 2 years because of generative AI and applications for generative AI and how that can change the way that we're all operating. And in fact, for people that say, oh, I'm not quite sure about generative AI, I challenge that and say, you're actually already using it. Do you realise that you're actually already using it? So we're already starting to see RegTech companies pivoting and using generative AI in their product solutions. I think that the financial services industry and indeed financial services regulators are all looking very deeply at their own applications for AI and generative AI, but also keeping a sharp eye on who's using generative AI and is it explainable? Can you explain it? And so this is a big thing on the lips of all regulators to a financial institution. Can you explain how that's arrived at that result? So I think it's super important that we all be prepared to say, yes, I can explain how this is used. But I actually am, for one, very excited by what I'm seeing out there for central banks, what I'm seeing out there for regulators, and what I'm seeing out there for institutions in applications around this. And then there's the other thing, looking into the future about applications in quantum computing. And just last week we had somebody here talking about the metaverse, and that really forced us to look at what might the future look like, even beyond AI, but actually applications for that in the metaverse. And I mean, I think we've left the metaverse to our kids pretty much to have to worry about, but it is actually right on our doorstep, and some really interesting things. So I think it's artificial intelligence, generative AI. We're going to see some really interesting things happen in the future.
Wow. Yeah, okay, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, I think I've got the final question, and then I want to just throw the floor open to you.
Yes.
So last words of advice regarding RegTech adoption through to 2025.
Look, we're going to see some key trends have emerged. One of those is going to be around cyber. And so everyone listening to this should pay some special attention to their cyber security, I think, and privacy. I think the other thing that we haven't touched on yet is actually fraud and scams. That has elevated into the psyche of every single regulator around the world, and everybody's looking for the ways that they can mitigate that as a risk. And I'll labour on that point just for a little moment, and that's because fraud and scams have made us completely inefficient, because there was a survey done just recently that suggested in small banking business customers, a survey that they did, 65% of small customers of a bank aren't answering their phone anymore, right? And it's because of the...
That's my advice to my elderly parents. If you
Yes.
think it's a bank calling you, don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
Call them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, but so it's made us inefficient,
Yes.
right? So 65% of the customers are not answering the phone anymore. So when the bank is trying to call them from an unidentified number,
Yes.
right, they're not going to answer the call. So the bank may be calling to alert them to something that could be happening, but we're not answering the phone. So the whole system has become inefficient. I don't answer my phone anymore, so I walk around with a mobile phone that's useless except for text messages, right?
Selfies.
Yeah, and then are those text messages real?
Yeah.
So this is something that is with us. Next week, we're launching a global scam challenge. We are looking for companies out there that are solving around the scam issue, because this is a scourge on society. It is a scourge on your mum and dad.
Yep.
It's a scourge on me running a non-profit business. There've already been, several phishing attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to try and help keep the system safe for everyone. We were just reflecting before, bank robbers don't wear balaclavas and carry guns anymore. They're highly sophisticated IT professionals that are sitting around the world trying to hack in and break down the system. And they are preventing the system from being stable and secure. So we really need to get on the front foot with some of this stuff. So I think cyber, privacy, consumers are really going to be in focus. I think scams and fraud is going to be one of the other big things. And then we've already touched on generative AI is really going to change the way we're all doing business. So I think that there's some of the key things that we should be thinking about.
Yeah. All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Deborah. That was really informative and really helpful. What I'd like to finish up with perhaps is just for you to give us how do people contact your organisation? How does your organisation work? I think we were talking before about the seminars that you guys run online. If you just want to, just give us a bit of a plug for yourselves.
Yeah, that's great. So the association is non-profit, and we only exist to accelerate the adoption of RegTech. So if you are a regulatory and compliance software company, or indeed you are a financial institution, then we invite you to become a member. And what it really is about is making those two counterparts accessible to one another. Mm-hmm. Because there's new market entrants on the software side coming in every day. But unless the institutions know about you, they're not going to consider you. So a great way to mitigate that is to actually come join the association, be part of our community. The banks will then start to get visibility over you. We run online programs that anybody can attend, but only members of the association can present at, is how we do it. So there's no barrier to attendance. We run those across our risk taxonomy. So we have 21 different risk areas that we cover, and we run events online around those. We also do in-person events as well in London, New York, Washington DC, and Sydney in Australia and Singapore. We will be at the Singapore FinTech Festival this year if anybody's interested to come and say hello there. But we regularly attend events just like this where we can address our cohort separately. You can go to our website www.regtechglobal.org and have a look at the various resources that are available to you. They're on there for free. But if you'd like to join, there's also a join button on there. It's all online. Click, please do join us. We would love to put you on our map of 150 organisations.
Wow. So regtechglobal.org for those who didn't catch it the first time, or you have to rewind, okay? All right, Deborah, thank you so much. That was really informative.
Thanks very much, and
right.
thank you for having me.
All right, cheers. Thank you.